Greetings, fellow adventurers. There's been plenty of great RPGs to play over the last couple of years, but we've been keen to play another from Obsidian ever since they announced Avowed as an Xbox release following being bought by Microsoft in 2018. Set within Eora, the Pillars of Eternity world, this gives us a much more immersive first-person look into the colourful universe. As Obsidian brought us the likes of Fallout New Vegas and The Outer Worlds, among others, we've been desperate to see more, which means we jumped at the chance to go hands-on with a brand new slice of the game, picking up from the very beginning. Here's what you need to know, and why we're loving what we've played so far. Not everyone is always in the mood for stacks of numbers. While Avowed certainly has those to offer for the digit-delighted stat lovers out there, the first-person combat is fun to simply get stuck into, allowing you to really embrace some action-first hacking and slashing if you so desire. Combat has a lovely weightiness about it, and whether you're pinging a bow, taking a hit with your shield, or about to fling out elemental spells, it's all intuitive and easy to understand. Just stick 'em with the pointy end till they're dead, and that charge attack is so satisfying to pull off. When you see fantasy swords and sorcery, it's easy to imagine you'll be trundling around an open world in a slight jog as you bosh baddies on the noggin. But Avowed's open areas are detailed spaces to explore thanks to some parkour-like first-person clambering. It's not quite Dying Light 2, but you're nevertheless nimbler than you might expect, and some quiet areas will reward some clever jumping with great prizes. But even on the standard path, you may come across broken bridges or outcrops that can get you to your destination. Just look where you're going, lest you take a fall. No fantasy world is complete without a web of proper nouns to become properly entangled in. After all, learning the language of a new world is all part of the immersion, and how fans are made. But if Avowed is your first foray into the Pillars universe, then worry not, as you always have the option within dialogue to pull up an explanation of any lore terms you've encountered. While both Metaphor ReFantasio and Final Fantasy XVI have attempted this in their own way, Avowed takes a simple but powerful approach. Similar to narrative-heavy visual novels, it opens up a fresh box that has terms mentioned throughout the entire chat right there ready to select and browse without breaking the flow of conversation. Avowed's UI is far from over-designed, though it is still quite pretty. Most importantly though, it's clear. I love how it's clear from both your health bar and an enemy's when they're blocking, as it adds a purple shield overlay, making it obvious when you're safe and when to go for a guard break. And I love the clear waypointing that makes it obvious what's optional and what's going to progress your main path forward. But most importantly, I love how natural it feels on a controller, making it a crunchy RPG that feels tailor-made for Xbox. From clear D-pad shortcuts to using the triggers in combat, to aligning and managing gear in the inventory, and even how you sprint like in Call of Duty. It all feels wonderfully natural. While you'll be speccing your envoy hero to favour certain stats and skills from certain classes, Avowed isn't about locking you into one style of play. With a touch of a button mid-combat, you can dynamically switch your loadout, altering both your main hand and offhand in the flow of combat. Yes, like Bayonetta. This means you go from shield and little stabby knife to dual-wielding a pistol and a spellbook in an instant, and always have a load of options in your battle-ready fingertips. Again, Avowed empowers you to find your own combat flow and get it the way you want it, meaning you can mix and match your main hand and offhand dynamic as you see fit. While bows take up both slots, a mage tome for instance can only be equipped to your offhand, which does mean you can forgo a shield and instead use a sword and spells for true sword and sorcery, favouring the very powerful dash button to evade strikes rather than blocking. Not all ranged weapons are two-handed either, meaning you can go shield and mace in one slot and combine a gun and magic for the other. We won't stop mentioning it. You can literally dual wield guns in magic. You have a finite pool of magic power for casting spells, which you can top off with potions and consumables, yet you can also restore it by absorbing the purple drops that come from enemies as you slay them. Which is all to say, you can find a rhythm of spell slinging that means you can stay topped off in the midst of combat without having to micromanage yourself constantly, pushing you to stay on the offensive with magic, while also supplementing it with other ways to finish off foes, so they spill that all-important purple juice. Bonus points if you shatter frozen foes with a bullet. This one goes out to our fellow Elder Scrolls fans who like to make their rangers viable so they can snipe their way out of danger. Not only is the range build in Avowed, at least early on, very viable, but it's joyous to play. Aiming down sights, you can power up shots, hitting weak spots for big damage, but you can also let go of your bow pull early as well to go a bit faster. It's very powerful, as it allows you to get damage in at a distance and seemingly shoot past shields. Be warned, however, there are a lot of ranged enemies as well, so you may end up in a sniper battle. It all becomes a marvelous fantasy-flavored FPS in its own right. What's an RPG without a party? And what's a party without a camp within which you can trade tragic backstories, chatter about recent events, and simply grow closer? While early on the party hasn't grown to its full potential, we're already enjoying our camp detours as a great way to get more colour on the world and learn more about our allies. Kai, a merman-like coastal Almaua, voiced by Brandon Keener, aka Garrus from Mass Effect, is our first proper pal, and a fantastic introduction to the world we find ourselves in, as we cut about Dawnshore. No, you're obsessed. While we can't show you the character creator yet, we can talk about it, and there's plenty of really interesting elements you can adjust even in the early build we played. As a godlike, you've been uniquely touched by divinity even before birth, which means you can give yourself some funky fungal features. And yes, some people will be very rude about it in conversation. You look great though, don't listen to them. Even beyond appearances, in the opening hours there's quite a bit of opportunities to use your stats to unlock new options in dialogue, making these branches feel quite weavy and providing ample room to roleplay. And that's our list of 10 things you need to know about Avowed before it releases February 18, 2025 on PC and Xbox Series X and S. So, will you be playing this one? Is there anything else you'd like to know? Let us know in the comments and stick with GamesRadar for the latest previews, reviews, and more.